Isn't it a wonderful thing out there? You know, it's been a long time since I busted out the Jethro Show. You know it there. Done it a couple of years ago back in the day. Welcome to the program, everybody. This is Jethro Tull, a.k.a. Can't Stop the Fridge. Back home finally from PAX. Went far down south, San Antonio. Man, oh man, what a different world it is. Even though I was right in the middle of the tourist trap. Yeah, I'll admit it. It was tourist trappy. And it was a good tourist trap. The food was good. Everything was super tasty. Can't really argue with the convention itself. Honestly, the convention itself was nice. First and foremost, because we do got to cover the convention. We got a lot going on here today. We've got a special guest coming up. Yes, Singvogol is going to be with us here just a little bit. But there's a couple of things that I do want to cover up. First off and foremost, the whole convention was amazing. And yes, not only do I have a cap, check it out, man. I got myself my Darwin action going on here. It's sweet action. I got actually a lot of good stuff. Check it. I went to Spearhead Games. Remember Ace and all that stuff? We'll cover this really quickly. Got myself a Spearhead shirt that was not just a regular Spearhead shirt. It's a dev shirt. That's right. I'm part of the dev team. You got nothing on me now. And just for proof, yes, sir, there's my mixer staff. I'm all proud of it. I can add that to the... Where the hell is it? I had it lying around here someplace. It probably died in a fire. These things tend to happen. The Xbox from Los Angeles. Oh, there it is. What a gong show Los Angeles was. I want to show you guys that later. I found a video myself. It even says Jethro Tull, even though it's backwards. I even found a video myself in LA. And yeah, it was a good time. We're going to get to that in a little bit later. But first and foremost, I took the liberty of taking a couple of videos out there when I was in away. Let's go off and see if we can get to the first one down here, because there was a couple of things that went down. And I do want to stress right now that the convention was amazing, and the building that it was in was amazing. I'm absolutely positive that everybody who went there would agree with me on that fact alone, okay, straight up. But at the end of the day, it's all in the planning. It's all how you do these things and how they're laid out. And I don't think that it's worked out as well as I thought. And I'll show you what I mean here right away. First video here is going to point out something a little bit obvious. Check this out.
Just a really quick update to show you how small this particular convention is. Not that it's a big deal. I mean, it's still a good convention, right? There's tons of people here. I think it was 40,000. They expected to be in on Saturday. There were still signs on all 3 days, though, that tickets were still for sale. Clearly, there's enough space around here to do that. And to give you an idea just how small it is, what I'm doing is I'm walking right now to the far end of the convention hall on one side, and it should give you some scope of just how little interest there is by the big players here. I mean, yeah, Mixer's here, but Microsoft isn't. There's people selling mice, but Logitech isn't here. Razer's got a little dinky booth. Who else isn't here? I mean, it's just ridiculous. There's a Hearthstone competition being presented by Geico. So the goddamn Geico lizard is walking around, and everybody's like, what the hell is this? I honestly thought he was Gex for the 3DO. Turns out I'm wrong. But anyway, I'm just going to turn here and show you for yourself. Look at that. So I'm at the far end. Basically, we've got about half of this convention taken up, maybe 2/3 would be the way to take a look at that. So yeah, it's a little bit of a disappointment for me personally. I was hoping to connect with a couple of, I had some companies in my mind that I wanted to find out here, and yeah, not so much. Discord is present, Redbox is present. There's a lot more swag selling crap out here than there was in the Chicago one, it seems like. Chicago had like almost like a row basically of nothing but people selling swag. Here, it's dotted all over the place, and there's a lot of, you know, join our school and we'll teach you computer programming, you know, that type of thing. So it's more convention-y in that sense, as opposed to just trying to like have people play video games and live out their childhood as adults, you know, that type of thing. Not much in the way of cosplay today either. A little bit less in that department. So far it's muted, but it's still early as well. So we'll report in a little bit later. This is Jethro Tull.
Okay, so we had that going on there, right? And I was thinking to myself for the longest time that there was an issue with this because, I mean, first off, it's San Antonio. There's something I think people were telling me is between 1.8 and 2 million people there. And not to mention that, I mean, it's the rest of Texas. It's a very populated area. And the only reason I can think why this did not actually turn out to be as big as it did is either because they've only been doing it for maybe a year or so, or perhaps because, all the developers are really far away, like I was saying in the video. So I'm wondering, how things were in the past. And so that's something I'm curious about. But, as I wondered about the convention, which I mentioned was gorgeous, absolutely amazing. The building itself and the area it was in, again, it was just the layout that was a problem. This was an issue that I had. And we'll correct that audio delay in there. Delays, man. We're going to be talking a lot about delays as well here in a moment. But check out what I discovered. Like, I started exploring around in the convention and wondering about, they kept checking me for my tag. But you go upstairs, there's 3 floors to the whole thing. And I asked people, and they don't even know that there was a thing going on upstairs at all. But it turned out that there was all the handhelds up there, the consoles, etc., etc. And I decided to go for a walkabout and take a look at this.
Hello everybody, this is Jethro Show again. I know we're in a dark area. I just stumbled across this. There's no indication except for the occasional sign telling you that the convention is on more than one floor. This is so poorly planned, it makes me sick. Take a look at this. You've got this nice big room. This is the console area, they call it. And it's on the 3rd floor. So there's 3 floors going on over here, okay? The 2nd floor is totally sparse. Nobody even knows about this top floor in any real number, okay? So while on the 1st floor, they fill up maybe 2/3, they've got a 2nd floor filled up maybe 1/3, and this one here is literally just one room. And you couldn't really see too well, but let's just say it's kind of empty in there too. It's a free play console zone, just a very, very poor planned convention overall. But hey, I didn't plan it. I'm just here to be a part of it, and I'm glad I am. San Antonio is quite an interesting place. Very much looking forward to checking out the rest of the city for the few hours that I have left before I got to fly my ass back home. Anyway, quick report. I'll try to get in one more before we're done. This is Jethro Show.
So, and that's what I'm getting at. While I was on the main floor and had this wide open space of nothingness, it turned out that they had utilized 2 full floors. And one of them was like this interior area that wasn't really apparent to anybody walking by, and so there wasn't much in there. And there was one room that really disappointed me, and I mean this on multiple levels. It was a room specifically for the transgender community, okay, LGBT community in there. They had their own little department going in. It was sponsored by all kinds of different groups and whatnot, but the room itself had like poor lighting. And all you had was a couple of tables around the outer perimeter. Nobody was inside. It was depressing a little bit, So a little bit of problem on that side. It could have been a lot, better had it been brought downstairs, because that's where everybody was. And so many people didn't bother going upstairs, especially when they plant a guard in the front of the stairs going up, right? So, if you're not really paying attention, you almost get the impression that you're not encouraged to go upstairs or anything like that. So it is an issue, and this is one of the things that I do want to talk about. But coming up after the intermission, we're going to be bringing in our guest, and we are going to be talking about that, a lot about the Darwin Project, which I haven't even begun to touch about, not to mention all of the other stuff is out there. Yes, Sing is with us. Coming right back after the intermission. This is Jethro Show.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1. Intermission. Now it's time for satisfaction. Tasty. Refreshing. Exciting. Sophisticated. Beef burgers. Remember, once you're finished, flush, then clean the cinema toilet thoroughly. You'll need to get it right in there. Go on. Round the rim. And under the bowl. And don't forget to wipe underneath the seat. Brushes and gloves are available from the cinema foyer for a £10 deposit. Leave it clean.
Patrons are reminded that if you see the smoking ghost, please report it to the nearest usher or usherette, who will summon the manager of this cinema to perform an immediate exorcism. Enjoy the film.
You meet on the moors. A man someone down the pub told you about. You say the code word, give him the special hand signal, 3 rubs, and the deal is done. You're buying a used condom. After all, it was cheaper, and the man did say he'd washed it. But how do you know? Just think of where it's been. Even if you know the man, never buy a used condom.
All I need is Comtrex to treat my cold symptoms, including aching limbs.
Comtrex, that's all, nothing else. May cause wind.
After this presentation, why not visit the Taste of India, a specialty Indian restaurant with a wide range of delicious curries. How about a swan biryani, or perhaps tandoori swan? And while you're here, why not try our creamy swan korma with mouth-watering signet chutney? The Taste of India, 19 Spotify Lane, just 55 millimeters from this cinema, opposite the Swan Sanctuary. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1. Intermission. Ovir.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I've got right behind me right now. That's right, Singvogol X. Sing. First off, I'm so sorry I messed up on your name.
That is okay. You are not the first, and you won't be the last. That's for sure.
Is that the most common error to go song instead of sing?
That's a pretty common error. Most people think it says voxel or voglix or
it's tricky with the X's, right?
Of other, right. But, you know, that's just what happens when somebody else takes your name. So, yeah, I do what I can. I do what I can.
So Singvogol has always been your name since the beginning of gaming for you?
Pretty much. So Vogel is my last name.
Oh, I thought, okay, I was going to guess that you were German first off, because I looked up Vogel and it turned out to be bird, and I'm like, that totally explains your logo that you've got on your Discord, which I love, by the way.
Thank you.
But are you German?
By heritage, yes.
Beautiful.
But I was born and raised here in Texas.
Yes, okay. So you're a singer then, I assume?
Yeah, I actually sang opera professionally for 3 years.
Wow, really?
Yes.
Professional opera. Okay, I have to ask, did it pay well?
No, of course not.
Didn't work out.
And it's, you know, it's like any entertainment or, you know, show business. You are pretty much bound to the will of your auditions or however many people happen to come to the show or what kind of gigs that you can get. So it is what it is. So now I'm a social worker. So
yes, and that is your new career thing. I remember when we were talking at PAX that is the big push for you, and it really has been for a good chunk of your life as well, hey?
Yes, exactly.
That's fantastic. So how long have you been streaming for? Tell me a little bit about your channel and tell everybody a little bit about what you bring to Discord and Twitch and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been streaming for a little over a year. I started streaming in December of 2016. Mm-hmm. And really, the reason I started streaming was because I am an extrovert. I'm a social person. I like to see communities being built. My master's degree is in social work, but I specialized in community building and nonprofit management and things like that. So it's really a core of what I'm passionate about in my professional life as well as my personal life. So actually finding Twitch and making a community and being able to bring people together who have a very common interest, video games, or even just gathering around to talk about something that you love, is just kind of, I fell right into it. So, and I love my community. I am a small streamer. I'm not partnered or anything like that. So, but I really enjoy my small community, and they're amazing. They are definitely like a family.
So really, in a big way, you're kind of doing this as part of a hobby just to enhance your existing love for doing social work in general. You love building communities, as you said. So it makes sense to me that this would be a good fit for you.
Yes.
Where do you see it going? Do you see yourself possibly switching to, say, Mixer, which we haven't quite touched on yet?
Ooh, that's a touchy subject right
Isn't
now.
Isn't it, though?
It's a very touchy subject. And that's one of the things that I noticed at PAX was just, it was such like the elephant in the room, right? I don't know if you felt that way, but I really did. Especially that last day just seemed, I'm not sure how to really explain it.
Elephant in the room. I don't quite know what you mean. Like, I know, I mean, I was a Twitch streamer, and they didn't really, kind of like that, being there. They really wanted to kind of promote Mixer and all of that. But I'm not quite certain what you mean by the elephant in the room. Could you maybe elaborate?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, Twitch didn't even have an official booth there,
that's
right?
True. Yeah.
So Mixer kind of took the stage, which is fine. I mean, I'm perfectly happy. Like I said, I'm a community builder. I love promoting any kind of platform that is going to be able to promote this interactivity and community building. But you didn't see a whole lot of people hanging out in that central area. I kind of felt like if I had, because my phone has a Twitch sticker on it. And once I don't know, I was talking to a few of the Mixer people and at the Mixer community meetup as well, because that was an open event. And it seemed like no one really wanted to mingle. It was a very cliquish type situation. And it seemed like nobody really wanted to say it. Like, oh, well, I don't really know if I can, get in with your community or really talk to you about anything because you're Twitch and not Mixer. But that's what it really felt like, I think.
I have to say I agree with you, but it didn't help that Mixer's giving away these hoodies to everybody with their name on the back of it, right? So at certain points, especially around the Mixer booth, you almost got the sensation that you were dealing with a biker gang a little bit. You had, they were all kind of uniformed up, and they all kind of hung out in a pile together, and you're right. I mean, they weren't overtly being jerks, but on the other hand, it's like, oh, you're Twitch? Okay, well, how about you over there kind of thing. You're right. There was an element of that. But to be fair, I mean, Microsoft, right now at least, when it comes to Mixer, seems to be trying to be open-ended as they can in terms of reaching out an olive branch and saying, look, we're small, we're only 7 months old, Twitch is okay. At least officially they're saying that, even if, the users themselves aren't actually expressing that sentimentality.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm definitely not pegging it on the company itself at all, because it's really, the company can do so much, right? And it's really the people who are within the community of the branches of the company who really showcase what the company can do. And like I said, it's not that anyone was directly, saying anything or anything like that, but it just seemed very off-putting and cliquish.
Yeah.
Again, not saying anything about the Mixer platform itself, because I think they have an extremely innovative platform. The delay is next to nothing. You can actually act in real time with your community. I mean, it's a great platform. I just think that some of the people who, and that's on Twitch's, that can be on Twitch's side too. If you go to some of these bigger events, and you do have that big Twitch community, I think it can definitely be duplicated in the other way as well. But that's just how I felt. So. Well,
I think there's enough space for both right now, but in the time being, Mixer is relatively unknown to the point where, when I was there, especially on the first day, and walking around on people. And by the way, you're right. Like, people with a Twitch shirt or hoodie or whatever were pretty much left alone. And there wasn't any overt, body language suggesting hostility or anything like that. It's just the way that you saw groups of people move in groups. And that's okay because you have this defensive setup. But when talking to people in the crowd while they're looking at this game, there was a lot of ignorance over what Mixer actually was. And a fair number of them even thought that Mixer was the name of the game.
I agree. I had the exact same questions as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was incumbent, I think, upon the people who were streaming, or at least casting, between myself and DM21, who he did a great job in his own regard, by the way. DM, if for some reason you're going to find yourself watching this, kudos to you, mate. But I think it was important that we needed to, inform that this was what it was, because on one hand, you had Microsoft really trying to get people to see the Mixer name to the point where they were putting it on hand sanitizers. And on the other hand, Mixer made the mistake of almost overwhelming the game that they were trying to demo. It might have almost been better if they had like a more obvious second stage with another game that was also Mixer, just to make it, more clear that that was what the situation was, that they were putting their hat into the ring to be another Twitch.
Did they not have some rooms with other stream rooms?
They're not obvious to the casual observer, and not only that, but they're private, right? When you see a door, a lot of people are intimidated by going in. They don't, they might look through it and go, oh, okay, they're probably just live streaming out something else on another TV for media or whatever. Like, it's really kind of hard, I think, to a number of passive observers compared to an open booth where this type of thing was happening. So, a little bit of a mistake on their side, and I tried to help them correct that, and they did. Like, they on, I think it was the dawn of the third day, they put the Darwin Project on top of the monitor and stuff like that. And the questions coming in on chat were a lot the same too, where, what is this game? What is going on? I have no clue. How does voting work? A lot of people don't even know what voting was. They thought the audience didn't actually have any sort of response. A brief criticism to DM21 was asking the crowd directly what to do, as opposed to saying you should vote for it in Mixer, But a lot of those things can be smoothed out in the next convention.
Absolutely.
How was your time streaming?
While I was up on the stage?
I watched the very first game you did, and then I came back at the end. I think it was to take over. But how was your experience? Did you enjoy it? Were you nervous? Did you learn anything that you would make you better in what you're doing now? Like, how did it work out for you?
Yeah. Overall, I really enjoyed it. That's kind of what I'm a streamer. I love I guess most streamers, or from the people who I've talked to, they're so used to being behind a computer and behind a webcam and not really seeing people.
That's the difference,
but in the work, but in the work that I do in real life, I get in front of big groups of people all the time, and I've done political events as well, and I've gotten up on stages and talked in front of thousands of people. So that's kind of like my natural habitat. Like, I love being in front of people. I love talking in front of people, and having those two kind of mesh was a really cool experience. I've never been to that point where you have this entire community watching you from one side of the webcam, and then you have an entire real life community watching you from the other side of the monitor. So that was really, really cool. That was my first time ever shoutcasting. So the response that I got, and the positive compliments and the criticism and things are amazing. I did not, I of course, we always give ourselves the harshest criticism, but I didn't expect myself to do that well at all. So I really enjoyed it, and I really hope to do it again. I was really excited when they asked me to do 3 games instead of just the original one that I was supposed to be up there for. So that was really cool. One of the things that I think from the Mixer community that we heard was the audio difficulties, because I know on my side, they wanted me to be much louder, like you are at any kind of event. You need to be up close to the microphone. You need to project. And that's something that I'm really good at. And generally when I'm talking into microphones, people tell me to shut up because I can be overtly loud, which is what I heard from the Mixer community. And I'm still hearing from some of the people.
Wait, they're telling you that you were too loud?
from the community that was on Mixer. Yes. In fact, I'm getting messages from people like, wow, that girl was just like, or you were way too loud, or you wrecked my ears, or just stuff like that.
Well, what I found weird is that everything was rigged up to DM21 and myself, right? So, we have obviously deeper voices. You figure it'd be a little bit louder. And so I was a little bit concerned, actually, when you first started casting. And so was Amelie. I scooted back to her when you first started up, and you still weren't finding, like your volume quite yet, right? And she's got her hand on her chest, and she's like, oh, I don't know if this girl's no good. You got to get back up there, and da-da-da-da-da. And then, like, you right away, you figured it out. And it was like, boom, and she looks at me and she goes, hey, she's pretty good. Right. And so, like, right away you had it. So, as far as I'm concerned, you went from like level 1 to level 4 in this type of situation in the matter of like 10 seconds. And then from there, you just took off. So kudos to you. And I'm positive it won't be the last time you find yourself in a situation like that. What are your thoughts? Oh, by the way, before we get in to the discussion proper on the Darwin Project, we're going to be raffling off a Darwin Project game key for the next 30 minutes. If you want to get involved on that, all you've got to do is dump out 100 silver per. Yes, this channel does a silver system. If you don't have any silver in your channel, go ahead and follow this channel. It'll give you 1,000 to start off with, but there are a ton of ways, means, and games to go ahead and do that. You can learn all about that by going to our Discord room. Type !Discord to join that and check out the silver store and the front page. 100 silver to buy a ticket. You can buy a maximum 5 tickets, and we are going to be starting off the raffle timer as of right now. So 30 minutes from now, if you want to get a chance at a DP ticket, just chime in. What are your thoughts on the game itself? Do you think it has a big future? Do you think it's going to get ripped off? Do you think it'll work?
I personally love the game. I am in love with the game, and I know that my community is also in love with the game. And I've had, during the last open alpha, when we were able to stream and promote the game and the gameplay, I just had so many people asking me for keys, and I couldn't give that to them. So I think that this coming up weekend, which is going to be the open beta weekend, and I'm super stoked, I will be streaming the game pretty much all weekend. It's going to be amazing. But I think it's going to kick off. I really do. Just because I think people are so bored of the PUBG, the Fortnite, overly large, long games. And I think people are looking for something different. And they're looking for something different to play. They're looking for something different to watch. So I really think that this game has a good start, especially with the amount of passion that this developer team has for the game and the amount of input they're actually getting from their community. They're not being like some other developer teams that I've seen where they literally block off the community and they completely divide themselves from what their community is saying and what the advice that their community is giving them and which direction to go. So that's my 2 cents. I really think it's going to be I think it's going to be great.
They just need to get it out the gate sooner. And I think it's polished enough that they can pull it off. Maybe not for Xbox, but at least for PC right away.
Yes.
They should roll it out as soon as they can. Thankfully, by the way, for anybody interested in the game Darwin Project or want to know what we're talking about, we are raffling off a copy of the game, but also there's going to be an open beta this weekend, so you don't even need a copy of the game. You can download it for free during that weekend period and play as the inmates, the actual players in the game, or the much talked about nowadays, especially the show director role of that. Just a quick chime in there. Somebody talking about how there was such a consistent group there. Based on the consistent size of the crowd at PAX, I feel like it has a great chance to be a long-standing game. I agree with that. It did really well as well in the Chicago PAX last year. I think it'll be interesting to see how this works out in the next Chicago, which is coming up, I think, in a couple of months from now. Ooh. Did something just explode?
Oh.
I think we got audio issues here. Hang on a second.
Oh, no.
No, I think we're okay. Somebody's saying their ears exploded, but I don't know why. Let me know if there's still continuing to be problems. and we will correct that. But everything looks fine.
I don't hear any feedback on my
Yeah,
end. I will give you that.
You're sounding good to me as well, so I'm not really certain about that. Let's just assume things are going up normal until or the audio clipped badly. Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I should have pressed the don't clip button at the right time, otherwise it would have been okay. Okay, so we know what we like. What do we not like? I'm looking for a critical ear now. What? And I don't mean that to the clipping. What about the Darwin Project do you think might have a problem down the road, or even now that you've witnessed, if anything?
Yes. So one of the biggest things I've heard from both people at PAX, from my own community, from some other streamers that I've talked to about it, is that the role of the show director, as much as I love it, may actually push some people away from the game, because there are a lot of people who are very based in their skills. They don't want that kind of, not just RNG, but
to them it's the same thing as RNG, really.
Yes, exactly. They don't want the ability of someone else to mess up their gameplay, pretty much. And I've also heard a lot of other people, explaining that they want a more competitive type game. So because the show director plays such a big role in the players' fates, it really doesn't have a ground for a competitive or esport kind of market, which in the end is going to push some people away. I don't think that anybody can get away from that. So,
well, I think I know actually this was talked about at length in several discussions actually, and the end shot is that right in the here and now, not every server that's up that you choose manually from will have a director in it, but there will be an option when it comes to the game matching as to whether or not you want to have a show director present. And I would imagine what that means is they'll probably let a show director happen, but he'll be neutered completely. No talking, no getting in the way, that type of thing. So that way they can still observe, still stream, but not actually cause any sort of, real problems for the players. So it's a real easy, way to do that. But with the game being, the whole idea of the show director and in bringing in the audience was what Mixer really, really wanted to kind of bring out there and show off to Mixer that they could do. So I could understand why they wanted every game to be a show director. I think one of the problems that, and I did it a few times myself, I fully admit it. I tried to leave the audience decide, how to handle things, but even then it still pisses people off. But both of us were guilty of actively trying to kill the players, and we're dealing with guys that, it's the first time they're playing. It's like, how you doing, right? And like the director is actively going after you, right? And I tried to keep it nice, but fully, I mean, both of us were guilty, I think, of that little crime, and that would turn some people off for sure.
Absolutely, and I think that I tried with the new Mixer interactions. I think that you can kind of push it off to the chat a little bit more, like, well, it's kind of on them, not really me. So I completely agree, and I completely am not going to say that I'm not biased in some way, shape, or form. Whenever someone is doing very well, of course you want to try and nerf them, or if someone is having a really hard time, and whenever I'm playing the game now, or in the developer tests, when I can actually talk to the players, because we couldn't really talk to the players.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to at their... Yeah.
Yes. So with that interaction, being able to interact directly with the player themselves, I always try to find the people who are new, who may not know what they're doing, and direct them, give them hints, tips, tricks. And I tried to do that a little bit at while I was shoutcasting at the booth. Mm-hmm. But of course, I mean, they're all playing, and the people who are on Mixer or who are watching in the audience may be able to hear, but there's so much going on. It's really hard to give any kind of direction or hints or tips or anything to the players.
It's hard enough for them to actually understand how to do it. I mean, I did one stream because it was a constant flow all the time in the Mixer chat, which nobody could see, but you could when you were streaming, right? So I'm sure you were watching it happen, and there's an occasional troll, and then there's a ton of Fortnite, and what is this? Right? So, I'm seeing that too much. It's like, okay, fine. Let's do this thing where we're just going to start from scratch. We're going to explain everything down to the level. And that one got me, like, in the most positive feedback I've had for the entire weekend. They're coming up after and going, oh, thank you for explaining what the hell that meant, and you really sold me on the game, and da-da-da-da-da-da. It's tough enough trying a game for the first time and having an enemy go after you if you're still trying to learn how to play the game in the first place. So there was a couple of issues with that, but at the end of the day, it went absolutely stellar, I thought, and it was really just a battle between the Mixer booth and that monster game. Did you try that Monster Hunter game? Did you get a chance to check it out?
I didn't. I was not going to wait in that line, but I know. Yeah. I have a few friends who I've been watching play it on their own streams. Okay. So I kind of know a little bit about the game. I know a little bit about the gameplay itself. So while I have not been able to play the game myself, I have a little bit of knowledge on it.
Fair enough. I didn't even get a chance to look at what the menu was on the map. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many people in the way that I couldn't even see what it was about. But
right.
Quick question: did you play Omen Sight? Yes, I did play Omen Sight. Wizard, I'm gonna show it again because I know you have a special connection with this. Check it out, man. I got myself a Spearhead Games developer shirt. There's our logo. Oh, it's not even coming in proper lighting. That's disappointing. But you can see it says Dev Team right there on the back. I'm proud of that. I don't even think I want to wear it. I'm just gonna like frame it somewhere, like it's a Boston Pizza in my bedroom or something. Oh my God, got in the line twice for Monster Hunter and had to bail. Legs were gonna give out. The lineups were slow. Hey, how were the lineups for God damn it, Mixer Project, the Darwin Project? I'm assuming you got in line too, right?
Oh, yeah. Me? No, I actually didn't.
You just bypassed in there like so many other people. Okay.
Well, no, I made an appointment with them.
Oh, okay.
Originally, okay. It's how I got in, and I've been on the developer team and testing at part of their alpha testing, their closed alpha testing for the past month.
Okay.
So I've gotten to know the devs a little bit, not in person, but through the game. I've gotten to talk to them a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I kind of had a little bit of a relationship with them beforehand, and I made an appointment with them through their event, whatever it was, the appointment maker they had through their Eventbrite or something. I'm not exactly sure what platform they use to make those. So I made an appointment with them. I talked to them a little bit. I didn't actually play the game there because I've been able to play it so much because they have the test servers open almost every day. So I've been playing at home a lot, which is why I've been able to get some of those tips out, kind of like if you build 2 fires, then you get warmth faster. So that's one of the things that I've learned. Yep. I didn't know how to create armor until last week. Somebody finally told me, yeah, haven't you been creating armor? No.
Armor is expensive too, right? I mean, you got the 3 wood, 3 leather. Yeah. You kind of don't want to see that go away just to have one hit. Yeah.
Initially, it's pretty expensive, but you get to create armor again after you kill somebody. So
that's true, right? And you get all their stuff, and then you just make another one basically for free. Yeah, that's a damn good point, actually. I appreciate that. I should have thought about that myself. I always kind of cringe when it comes time to make the armor. So you've been with them for the past month. That's the game has really come a long way. I mean, I've been with them since the whole January thing, and even before me. The game itself was originally a 2D game, top-down. Okay?
Wow. Yes. I didn't know that. That is crazy to think about.
They had a functioning top-down with just placeholder graphics and it was during those days that they actually went around and tried to sell this game on major devs. And a couple of them, and I won't name names, but they were actually you know what? This thing looks like crap, but I love the concept. Keep working on it. Get back to me. And that's what they did. And then they turned it into a full 3D thing. They brought in more talent, and they solved all of those problems. So it's just great in that regard. I'm seeing problems again here with the mic. Let me just...
oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, it's not you, it's me. Let me just... There's usually an easy fix for this thing, and it's that. All right, hopefully that's a little bit better. Let me know. Oh my god. All right, now I'm being told it's fixed. Yeah, I have no idea what it is. Once in a while the mic just explodes, but I think there might be some confusion between the fact that I'm talking with you versus, you know, like there's the mic split out twice or something crazy like that. So, not sure, but...
it might be that.
I'm being told it's a lot better now. So, yeah, sorry about that, guys. I really do apologize. Bug testing, what are you going to do, right? So, anyway, where were we in the Darwin Project world? Yes, the early versions being 2D, and then they, refactored everything and brought it in. And, they have a lot of ideas. I mean, just to kind of throw some at you, when I was in with the Microsoft thing in Seattle with them to push this game on them, part of the presentation, of course I knew nothing about this before, was they had ideas for a whole, like a card system almost, where the show director, instead of getting a set number of powers, would actually be given a deck. And the deck would be different powers that you would get over playing the game as a regular player kind of thing. So the more you play the game as an inmate, the better you could be as a show director, down the road. And of course, they have another idea for another map in another environment. But that leads itself to the problem of how do you solve the environment being a problem, right? Like, it's easy to set a campfire in the wintertime, but if you go to the desert, what's the equivalent for that? Like creating a refrigerator, pardon the pun, and hiding in it? You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know how they're going to make new maps, but I remember reading that there's a lot of chat for new maps. And I would think, and I don't know what you'd think about this, but they have to have more than one map to do what they're doing when the game is all said and done.
I agree. I definitely agree. And I'm wondering how they could do... I don't know. I think that maybe a jungle environment would be really easy to transfer over to.
But what's the environment that hurts you, though? Like, one of the mechanics of the game is that you have this bar that's constantly dropping, right? That's the cold. Mm-hmm. So in a jungle, how would that translate? Mosquitoes?
Well, yeah.
Or dehydration.
Well, you could do dehydration.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be the desert one, too, actually.
Dehydration or humidity. You could do, like, being overly humid or...
sunburnt, and then you have to run into the shade. And then you froze.
One of them that could be like, easy to do.
I'm sorry, you cut out there just a little bit at the last second.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're coming in fine now.
Again? Okay. I'm not exactly sure what just went on. My camera flashed a little bit there.
Oh, okay.
That's really weird. But so I was saying that you could have like heat exhaustion could be a factor in that.
Yeah, as opposed to being cold, you just get too exhausted or too sunburnt or whatever. Okay, so outside of Darwin Project, was there anything else at the PAX that really blew your hair up?
Not really. I did get to try out VR. So I went upstairs, which I think you were talking about earlier, where there's this like entire upstairs.
Yeah, what do you think about that? Do you think I got
where...
my head up my butt about having a bad layout? Like, to me, it was such a mistake to do what they did. And
I mean, so I've never been to a PAX before. This is my very first PAX I have ever been to. So I can't really give you a good comparative for previous PAX or anything like that. I think that some of the things that were upstairs were good that they weren't necessarily advertised, because then the lines would be really, really, really long. But then again, like you were saying with the console area, I had no idea that even existed. So...
Well, I mean, and I mean, compare. I'm just throwing up on the screen right now. I mean, take a look at what's going on there, and you can see how there's some confusion. Like, this is a picture of not the empty area I showed on the video earlier, but the space between where the board gamers were and the PC gamers were. And it's just this massive open chasm of nothing that they really could have loaded up with, you know, kiosks and swag shops and everything else like that. So it just, so much space not being utilized properly, I think, hurt the chances for a lot of games to be noticed and a lot of, you know, swag to get sold.
And I think the timing of the event, I know that other people who have been to a PAX before has said that this has been smaller than previous PAXs. There weren't as many vendors because you have GDQ, you have these other events that are going on the exact same weekend that PAX is going on. So you have several communities, several developers, a lot of people who just weren't there. Who, I mean, I know. I could throw out so many different names of people who weren't there because of XYZ.
There was no actual Microsoft. There was no Nintendo.
Yeah.
Right? Like, basic players. And
Nintendo wasn't there.
And when I showed up, like, I was there a Thursday night to help set up, and so I'm with an empty convention. And if you look at my Twitter feed, you'll find I made a little quick video about that. And I mentioned, like, Twitch has a huge presence in here because you see this massive sign. Like, I remember when we first met, I'm like, go check it out, it's Twitch. But it turned out to be nothing but a Tekken tournament that was being done on Twitch. And they had, like, one rep in the back room that was hiding from people. So...
Right.
Yeah, and so it was a disappointment that, I mean, Twitch, of all people, should have been there, I thought. But we didn't even get that.
Yeah. And I've heard, and I'm not sure who told me this, if it was you or someone else, but so one of the things that someone told me that the reason Twitch wasn't there is because the event fell within the same fiscal, what is it, the same fiscal report
period
as TwitchCon or something like that. So the event, I mean, it was earlier than it normally is. So they literally couldn't put it in their fiscal report to finance, I think is that's just what I've heard.
If they're going to blow their money on something, blow it on their own convention rather than, you know, and for reference, the Boston
quarter, that's what
fiscal
it is.
Quarter. There we go. We were both,
fiscal quarter.
There we go. Thanks, Jane. For reference, we had about 40,000 was the number that I kept hearing at this particular convention. The Boston was 80 to 100,000 compared to the 40, and I believe the E3 was even great. It would have had to have been greater than that, the E3 convention in Los Angeles. So it didn't really benefit from a large population, comparatively speaking. So I can see why some companies would have chosen to, you know, not be there. But at least a slightly smaller scale would have been nice and showing up rather than just, you know, whatever it is that
not going at all. Right.
Yeah.
I agree. And like I said, I know that PAX South in and of itself is smaller than the other PAXs. That's just a fact that I've been told over and over and over again by partners, by people who have been every single year. It's just the smaller convention of all of them. So it's more like a family gathering than a convention is what I've heard it compared to. But this particular year was much smaller than it has been in the past.
Oh, okay. So this is what people were telling you then, hey, is that it actually did shrink. See, I was thinking that it was one of those things where they just finally expanded up into the South PAX, and therefore, you know, because it's so new that it was still growing. But if it actually shrank, I don't know about that. With as many partner streamers that have voiced the issue with Twitch not being there, I'm positive that will change next year. Yeah. I would think that would be it. I mean, I did run into a lot of Twitch people when out and about there, and I mean, I was disappointed. It would have been nice to hang out with the Twitch people and have a chat with them, but again, not even any real representation. It would have been nice to at least have them, you know, back off a little bit and maybe put a booth where they were doing the whole Tekken tournament or something like that, you know? Something.
But it's, on one hand, I get it. On the other hand, I get it. You know, so I'm very torn on the whole thing and why they weren't there and whatnot. But it would have been good to have representation. So
yeah,
You never know. I mean, it's
maybe next year.
It's kind of just up in the air, yeah. And I also, a lot of the partners were also telling me that, with Nintendo being there last year with the release of the Switch, so they were there, they were previewing the Switch. They had a lot of partners who were on the floor with the Switch and streaming it and all of that. So they didn't have that pull as well. So it's, I don't really have a comment on the size and everything again, because I wasn't there, but who knows?
Well, I mean, when you have a good portion of the people that were there not even being aware of a second and third floor.
Right.
And when you do go up to the second and third floor, it's so far spaced out. I mean, it's a hell of a hike for no good reason. It takes away from the impression that it's a large convention. And
right.
When you have all that extra space, it wouldn't be such a big deal to have all the lineups. But it would have been nice. I wanted to ask you one more thing. We're getting close to the top of the hour here, so we're going to wrap up. Did you get a chance to check out the Army recruitment game, the flight simulator? At least I'm calling it that. I don't really know what it was, but it was by Go Army, and they had that floating thing. I'm just going to bring up the picture here real quick. You know what I'm talking about. They brought in the truck.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I did not get to try it. I know a couple of people who were talking about it, and they had mixed feelings about it. Again, personally, I didn't get to try it. It seemed really neat, but I don't know what it was all about. Did you get a chance to get in there and try it out?
I was tempted, but the lineups were non-stop. And that's the part that kind of blew me away. I mean, I'm sorry, but the technology of having a little capsule that moves around, by hydraulics underneath it in accordance to a game isn't exactly a new thing. And yet they and it just rocked the entire time, nonstop. And this was a thing that you couldn't even play it unless you gave me your name and your address.
Right.
Right? Which is, I'm sorry, but it's creepy. Even if it is an Army thing, I think it's, I'm just here to play games, man. But whatever. It would have been fun to try it out, but not for the lineup cause that would have taken me for sure. But
agreed.
Yeah, it would have been a glorious thing though. Fly around. I mean, I wouldn't mind one in my backyard. I mean, that would be like the perfect party thing to have in your backyard. Got the barbecue going on.
Right.
You got the open glass. You can see them flying around and stuff like that. It'd be fantastic.
Well, I even remember, like, in my hometown, which is in the middle of nowhere, West Texas, they would bring in those kind of things when I was a kid, which, I mean, that's much further away than I think people think it was. But they would bring those things into our little mall, and you could ride them, and it would be like a roller coaster or something like that's what it reminded me of. I'm like, I remember getting motion sick on one of those when I was like 5 years old.
It's like the modern version of the Daffy Duck that you ride for 25 cents outside of the supermarket.
Something like that. But it was exactly the same thing, though. You had a little pod where a few people would get in, and it would kind of simulate being on a roller coaster. You'd have this big screen in front of you. You put on the 3D glasses, and the thing would like just bounce on hydraulics as you watch. So, I mean, I didn't really feel a pull to try it out, to be fairly honest with you.
Yeah, fair enough, And two, I mean, like, a lot of the games that were out there were... and one thing that surprised me, actually, and I commented on this as well, is that there was far more, join our educational thing, or, learn about this here, which is good. Encouraging people to take an actual career in programming and gaming. And that was something that I didn't notice much in the Boston PAX, but I really noticed here. And I thought it was a fantastic idea. I saw a lot of those purple sparkly hats for the university that was flogging their stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was TSU. TSU is very known. That's a Texas Southern University.
Okay.
They're very, very known for getting out there and getting into any event that they can. So I personally wasn't surprised that they were there, just because I know them. I know the people who do their outreach. So I think that's very unique to Texas, to be honest. It's very unique to Texas. A lot of the universities get into these events and promote their programs. I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
Not at all.
But
what about Gamer Jesus? That, I mean, you gotta hand it to him for the creativity, right?
Yeah,
On coming to a convention
exactly.
like that. Did you get
Yes.
the book?
The book, I
Oh,
didn't.
you had to get the book. It was free. The idea is to
Oh,
wait
I
till there's a
didn't get
crowd and get one, so they don't talk to you after, and then you just keep walking. And then you
Oh.
have a game. You have this book. I grabbed one, and what it does is it talks about like video game philosophy interspersed with Bible passages. It's like it's a really
That doesn't surprise
it's
me.
a creative attempt at trying to make it happen. And of course, you got Jesus holding his head to the side, and instead of a lamb in his arms, he's got a Nintendo joystick glowing from behind his head.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, just the cover of the book itself is worth owning. The raffle itself is going to end in 1 minute 27 seconds from now. If you want to jump in on the raffle, just type !ticket space 1. We're giving away a copy of the Darwin Project game key. I'm here with singvogol, rockin' caster extraordinaire, also on Twitch. You're going to want to check out her channel, the address of which has been down there the entire time, twitch.tv/xsingvogolx. Sing, anything else you want to say before it's all said and done? Do you give it a kudos overall rating for the convention out of 10?
Overall rating for the convention, and also with the lens that this was my first PAX, I would give it an 8. Because I really enjoyed it. I got to see a lot of people. I got to, of course, the being able to be pulled up onto the mixer booth and shoutcast for one of my favorite games right now just kind of took the cake. So
yeah, it's nice to be able to contribute in there too, right? Like it's actually, I am not just a player, but I'm a contributor to the whole community type of thing, and be it whether or not you're just somebody who's involved in a Discord channel, moderating, or someone helping in tournaments, or someone who's actually organizing this, that, and the other thing on every level. It seems to me like these conventions is the way business networking should be compared to the old school methods that we see, in people in suits when they go to their networks, where they all just kind of sit around and have tea and crumpets and discuss economic values in Paraguay type of thing. So I hope the attitude, continues with this generation, and we get some of the best, groups of people out there forever. Because even though we play video games and we make fun of each other's mothers when we lose, we go to a convention and it's like we're all best friends.
exactly. I completely agree.
All right, we're going to wrap things up over here. I did promise to play the video of me being drunk in Los Angeles. This was done the night before the actual show. I told Simon that this was live, but it wasn't. But it doesn't really matter. It was a good time. A little bit of a modern language warning. The language is rated T for Trump. But we'll wrap that up. And singvogol, thank you so much again for coming on the show. I hope we have you another time down the road. It'll be great. Or maybe I can show up on your channel sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry for the camera movement and all of that. My cat's trying to get attention. So
Cats are like that. Cats are like that. All right, here we go.
all right. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for letting me be here, and I look forward to talking to you more, of course.
I'm afraid there's gonna be a virus on the fucking things. They're all birds, man. Just watch. I'll get that Bitcoin encryption virus. Fuck's sakes. Welcome to Hollywood Boulevard.
Are you live?
I am live right now. Hello, this is Amalan. This is Simon. We're kicking ass. Yeah. All right, so we are on Hollywood Boulevard. Look at the stars and look at the people as they go around and demonstrate that they are living to walk on sidewalks in the middle of the fucking night. It's always busy, it seems, in this part. And good on them as we progress on the way through to our cab, because I'm fucking drunk.
Okie doke.
Thanks again for coming out, everybody. This was the Jethro Show. This will not be the last time we have the Jethro Show, and it will be the best thing you've ever seen in your goddamn life. The South PAX was nowhere to go but up, really, when it's all said and done. Again, big thanks to singvogol. Go check out her Twitch channel. Go join her Discord. Go look her up. She is actually a really cool chick. I'm serious because I've seen her for real. I wouldn't be lying if I was saying otherwise. We're going to be back here on the next weekend. Every single weekend, we have the Rocket League Beer League Tournament. And we are going to find out now who won the raffle. Out of the players who got themselves involved, it will be Redbeard Rich with a Darwin Project key. Congratulations, Redbeard. Get yourself over to my Discord if you don't mind, and look for me directly, and I'll be more than happy. Ooh, that's not direct. I meant Discord. Somebody give him the link. I can't spell when I'm talking. There you go, bot. The bot's going to give you the link. Go look for me. Of course, I'm Jethro Tull. Of course, I'll give you that key. Of course, I love you. And of course, I'm going to be back here later on in the week, if not just before the Rocket League Beer League. Until then, we'll see you then.
Always faster.
What a strange looking machine.
Can't see us spit in the air without getting a kick out of it.
Why, it is like a bird.
A Spitfire bird. A Spitfire bird. It's tiring, always stretching up for something that's just out of reach. But I'll get it. After all, what I want isn't as easy as all that. I've got to do 400 miles an hour, turn on a sixpence, climb 10,000 feet in a few minutes, dive at 500 without the wings coming off, carry 8 machine guns,